Been there, done that.
Actually, I think she might get like 15. Depends on how many hours. It's never less than $50. Like it's always cost me a month. $50 for a stay. They usually get about
I don't think for my two animals, I don't pay $50 an hour.
I mean, the one's probably asleep. Chloe's probably asleep right now. They're very close to it.
Yeah.
And then Abby just put on Disney Channel, and she's Abby.
Serena, don't get that out because they're watching my boys for a lot less money, and I'm not paying more money out. You're paying that for two girls.
Yeah.
All right, I want to go back into the work session of the Mayor and Council for Monday, June 18th, 2012. It is now about 7:15 p.m. We have just finished a special closed session to discuss a topic in litigation. I'm going to waive the silent prayer and flag salute until our public meeting at 8 o'clock. I will make the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Statement, which is that New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and attend any meetings of public bodies at which business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with this act, the Mayor and Council, the Borough of River Edge, have caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place posted in the Borough Hall, and notices were sent to the Record and the Ridgewood News. The mission of the governing bodies to provide essential services through establishment of public policy to safeguard our infrastructure, providing honest and professional services, and establishing a sense of trust and accomplishment with our residents. We do this by research and prudent planning to minimize risks by improving municipal services. We are sensitive to the needs of the taxpayers while realizing that the governing body cannot be all things to all people within economic constraints imposed by state mandates and the prevailing attitudes about taxation. We have two exits in the hearing room, one at the front and one at the back. We are on the record both for sound and videotape. If you wish to be heard in the public session, you can come up to the microphone so that we can record your voice and memorialize your image. If you do choose to speak, please stand up, introduce yourselves to the Mayor and Council, give us your name and address. The first matter we have, let's do a roll call.
Here.
Councilman Ford?
Here.
Councilman Vignone?
Here.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Here.
Councilman Papaleo?
Here.
And Mayor Mascaratola?
Here. All right, we don't have any borough administrative topics on the work session. Is that correct, Mr. Negrian?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. For discussion tonight, we have the shade tree ordinance revisions that Sam has been working on along with Liz Stewart, and I provide a little input. Sam, take it away.
Yeah, what we've done is we took the ordinance, we took out all references to private trees. That was the consensus of the council. The ordinance now defines regulated trees as only public trees. So we're talking about basically street trees, any trees that are in the public right of way, and basically eliminating the regulation of any private trees. The only instance you will have private trees would be, at this juncture, would be in the municipal land use section of our law, or ordinance, where you still have requirements for landscape plans, but this would be basically a development, a site plan development, where there would be input by the planning board in terms of the landscape plan for any site plan development. It represents a good first step, I think, for the Shade Tree Commission. I mean, essentially, you're regulating your public tree sections so that you can monitor the public trees and obviously have some remedy in the event the trees are damaged or need to be replaced.
Thank you, Sam. We have, before opening it up for further discussion, we have members of the Shade Tree Commission here today. I want to thank them for their attendance. If they could put their appearance on the record.
Liz Stewart. Jennifer Dougherty.
Okay, you want to tell us anything on this new revised ordinance? No?
Revised.
All right, do you recommend that it be passed, or?
We do. Yes, we do. We hope that you've read through it and, we'll pass it.
All right, Ed?
Just a couple of comments. One, regulated trees, we're defining it as 4-inch. Our land use and our site plan define the regulated tree as 6-inch. I think there should be some consistency between what this regulates and what the site plan ordinance regulates. Furthermore, in my review, I looked at about 20 or 25 tree ordinances from different towns. When they're talking about street trees, generally they're setting a standard of at least 8 inches, and sometimes it's 10-inch, because you're looking to preserve the older,
Before
more
we go
mature
on,
trees.
4 inches what we buy, that's what we're planting, so we should replace at least that size. If you go any bigger than that, you're not getting any of the trees that we just planted.
But our site plan ordinance only requires you to replace 6-inch trees.
That's on the property though, this is...
Yes,
this is-
so I think it should be consistent.
Well, then we should keep this one, because then we will not get anything back. If we plant a new tree...
I don't know if there's so much worry about damaging a 4-inch tree. I think it's less likely you're going to damage a 4-inch tree as opposed to damage a 24 or 36 inch,
You
and
know
that's
what
what this seems to be the concern about, is
No, do you know what the
losing...
4 inch is being measured at?
Yes.
Height?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we should get replacement for any tree that's damaged during construction. I don't think it should be a 24-inch tree, an old tree, a young tree. I think any borough tree, it's borough property, we put money into it, we should get something back from it.
I have a problem bonding for a 4-inch tree. I'll get to the bonding part of it, but that was just one comment. The other issue I have is, under the land use law, we're calling this a maintenance bond. I don't know whether it's just a terminology or whatever, but in the land use law, we're not allowed to require a cash bond. We're requiring a cash bond.
Yeah, I realize that.
So we can't do that. I think unless you have a schedule showing the size of the tree with the value, I still have a problem going up to $5,000.
Yeah, we had discussed this. Obviously, I think we need something in place, and we had discussed the issue of keeping the maintenance bond. What are you suggesting on this, Ed?
Well, first of all, I think it should only be 2 years, be consistent with a maintenance bond.
Yeah,
And then have a review
problem with
after
that.
a year.
Basically, the 2 years are the general period for, under the municipal land use law, for maintenance guarantees. So if you can live with 2 years...
The problem is that this is a living tree. I don't think you're understanding the biology behind it. That's why we're doing this. And 3 years is perfectly acceptable. A lot of towns do that because after 2 years, you may not see it. And
Out of all the ordinances I reviewed,
Mhm.
and I said I didn't go through the whole county, I only got through about 20 or 25, to be honest with you. None of them require bonding for
Paramus
trees.
does.
No, it
And
doesn't.
we took the wording right from Paramus.
No, I looked at the Paramus one today, they didn't have...
I'll show you
Yeah, I'm not
exactly
sure-
where it is.
Yeah.
That's where we... I don't think...
You might not be looking at the right ordinance.
No.
Yeah, there's different ordinances, I'm not sure if you're looking
Okay,
at...
that's possible, but the one I looked
You know
at,
what
it
I'm saying, 'cause
didn't
there's different, like,
require...
we have our main ordinance, and this would be an amendment to our ordinance.
Mhm.
What about the Jackson Township here?
But I think if you're going to, 5,000, there should be a schedule. If it's such a size, such and such a, up to an amount, rather than saying it's up to 5,000, because someone can decide that it's...
Paramus has a very good ordinance and it's very basic, and
Okay, now, I read something different, so...
That's right, that's-
Yeah, no, I'm not arguing with you, I'm just, yeah.
Let me take a quick look at it.
Some of the towns that have the private trees, some of them are very strict. I've seen very specific. But I still think having somebody put up a cash bond of $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000 is...
replacement of
There's a
trees.
lot.
Are these stores? It's for the town trees. Do you understand what the trees are worth? Maybe we should start there. We've done it, when we did the whole survey to give information to the mayor and council starting last year, we went through our tree files. We have a computer system. We have every town tree marked, condition, size, type, everything. So we went through that and got the average. So the average size tree in town is about 18 to 24 inches. So that's probably a tree about this big. Those values, it depends on the type of tree and the condition of it. They range in value anywhere from $7,000 to up to $30,000. So to ask for $400 back, that doesn't represent what the tree's value is. And we're asking for a maximum of $5,000. We probably wouldn't ask for the $5,000 very often, but we're actually saving someone money.
But then why can't we just have a schedule that says...
Because there's no
someone-
schedule, each tree is different, it's based on...
So you can have a
each
4-inch
individual-
tree that's worth $5,000.
No, a 4-inch tree would be worth the 4.
No, I'm not trying to be fun,
No,
but I'm just saying, I'm looking at this, if I'm a developer and I come to town and someone tells me now,
I understand.
you're gonna bond, and if you want a cash bond, that's somebody who's gotta take $15,000 of their money and tie it up for 3 years.
Let me show you an evaluation, I think I
Can I just ask the question, Liz, Ed, would 3 years work as far as you are concerned, as opposed to typically in your maintenance requirements for, trees don't really fall under the general maintenance guarantee under the VML?
It may, I think the longer you go, the harder you're gonna have either determining that you establish the cause or getting the money back.
I realize that.
That's my concern on that.
Let me just see if I can find assessment, I think that might clear it up for you a little bit.
Liz, why is 3 or 5 years critical to the ordinance?
3 years is because it's just the nature of a tree, of how it would decline. They don't, it's not like a human being where if you shoot them and they, you can actually see what's happened. It's a slow decline. You can actually track, I know we kind of made fun of it last time, but there is like a CSI for trees. You can analyze them, you can kind of see where they're declining. It's obvious when you do work like this that you are causing disease to them, you're causing them distress, you're causing them to die earlier.
I think what Ed's concern is, that the longer the time period out is, the more difficult it will be to establish causation, because someone may state that it's
Okay.
it
Is that
died
going to
from
make a break
less
for you,
than
like
trauma.
2 versus 3 years for your
But
vote?
that's a proof problem. That has nothing to do with whether it's good public policy to have the tree ordinance in place. If the shade tree can't prove it, then they can't prove it. And any developer has the right to make an appeal to the mayor and council. The Paramus ordinance that you provided to us for review allows up to 5 years, and your proposed ordinance is only 3 years, with a review after 1 year, right?
Yeah.
Is it a review after 1 year?
Yes, it is
And
a
in
review after
Paramus, it's 5 years with a review after 3 years. So it's far more burdensome to a developer in Paramus than it would be here. Didn't an earlier version, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't an earlier version of the ordinance have a schedule in it that was...
For
That was for
private
private
trees.
trees, but we can't follow that for town trees, it's completely different. It just, you wouldn't be getting the trees are worth something to the community. You can place a value on them that holds up in court, you can actually put
But like I said,
money value.
it's not you personally, it's not, but I'm saying, when you have a range from $0 to $5,000 and no guidelines...
There are, I'm trying to find them, and I
But
know...
there's no guidelines in the ordinance. It's all it says is that it could be up to $5,000.
But the guidelines say for ISA's value, it tells you how we will evaluate it. It's within the bond description.
Shouldn't that be in the ordinance?
It's in there.
It's in there.
As long as there's a reference to a standard like ISA,
Yeah.
you don't have to put the whole ISA.
That's a known. In
Yeah.
the industry, that's a known.
It's in the definition section.
I can't find it. We do a tree evaluation. It's a page long. It goes through each category. It says what kind of tree, how old, what kind of tree is it, what condition is it in, where is it located, are there wires, is it lifting the sidewalk? It's a whole page long, and then at the end you have a number, a money number, a value that tree is worth. And we do them all the time. And that would be done before construction starts, and then we set a value for the tree before the construction starts. And that way we have that value, and then if something happens, and then we ask for that money to be put into a bond.
I'm just trying to find
And
out
also
where it says that in
DPW
the
putting money
ordinance.
to take it down if it needs to be taken down, you have to grind the stump, take the lump
Yeah, it's in the
away.
ordinance, yeah.
Maybe in the definition section.
Well, what about the also
We've used this for PSC&G when they've damaged our trees, we used it just this year, when we evaluated 4 trees and they give us money for it and they wound up taking them down. I mean, this is a value that we use.
Liz,
And it's used in the...
could you point out what section of the ordinance has the reference to the ISA in it?
I think it was the definition section, it may have been deleted, let me just see.
we
Take a look at
remove
one of
that?
the older ordinances.
Here it is, it's on the other.
It's on the old one, it was deleted.
It was.
Yeah.
Which version?
It's I'll tell you which version it is, it was the June 7th version.
June
I didn't
7th.
bring my whole file, I have this one. The June 7th had a definition of ISA, meaning International Society of
Well, you could just put that language right into this.
Arboriculture.
If you put that language in actual the bonding requirement section, so it's clear that's how you're going to establish the bonding amount.
Yeah, I could add it to the definitions too, I mean, and just reference it in the bonding section.
The ISA.
That sounds like a very good suggestion, Councilman.
And then the only other comment I had was...
What about the 4-inch tree versus the, I haven't looked at the site plan ordinance.
The site plan, I did check that today, it is 6
It is
inch.
6 inches?
Yeah.
So what do we want to do about that?
You should stay at 4 inches,
The
because
site
actually,
plan
you know, we're
ordinance should
bonding all this
probably
money
be
to start
And we amend the other one
planting.
then.
So if we plant trees this year, we're very fortunate that we are going to be planting. They're going to be approximately 4 inches. And now if we have the construction that does come in, easily we can lose those trees. If we don't...
Which we just paid for.
Yeah, and that we just paid for.
Yeah.
So it's...
What he's saying is it may be easy to amend the site plan ordinance and the tree ordinance, so this way the 4-inch trees, if you want to retain the 4-inch trees in the definition, you can retain it, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
He just wants consistency between the site plan
The
ordinance
four,
and this.
yeah.
So stay with the 4-inch.
Okay.
On the cash maintenance bond, then we will incorporate the ISA standards?
I think it should be cash or other acceptable, I don't know if it can be
Well,
cash.
that's
because
other
we're short-
acceptable does not work because we do not allow people to plant on town property. So any equivalent, I don't know what other...
Well, they could be a surety bond or some
Oh.
other line, of
Yeah.
irrevocable lines of credit, things like that.
That was in one of the versions. We had that in
And then the
one
other-
version.
Cash
I
bond,
can't
so we
remember
can
which version.
add either a surety bond or other letter of credit or other such,
Yeah, whatever.
letter of credit or other such guarantee.
And then there's just one other minor comment on
Let me just
section...
make sure I get them all. Let me incorporate the ISA standard in the bond, in the,
Right? Yeah. Keeping that. You have to keep that.
And I think we need a dispute resolution clause, like in land use law, like if there's a dispute with releasing a performance bond or a maintenance bond, it's appealable,
yeah.
just, because it's not actually in that section, but
We
just
can
so
add
there's a
that.
process.
Did you listen to what he said?
Yeah, I don't, yeah.
What he's saying, if it's disputed in terms of the release of the bond, then it can come before the mayor and council.
And then the last thing was under section 5B, application contents, item 2, it says a survey or plot plan. I would say that we don't need a survey or plot plan as long as it depicts the approximate location of the trees. We said we didn't need a survey, correct?
I think we don't have a survey.
Well, it still says a survey or plot plan showing public and private trees, so.
Okay. So what do you
I would say
suggest?
that it should be enough to just show the approximate locations on a
plot plan?
without having to get a survey.
Yeah, okay, I have no problem with that. What section was that?
Section 5B.
So if all these adjustments are made, everyone's satisfied? I mean, it's only been 6 years.
And just one other question for...
Not a problem in 6 years. Let's not-
One other...
Let's stop that argument. Okay.
We weren't here
No,
6
no,
years ago.
yeah.
Exactly.
No, I know,
One
but I
other
mean,
question. And
you know.
it comes down to
Okay,
the
but we
time
weren't here
frame.
6 years ago.
It
Okay,
says
so-
that you have
It's on
30
you.
days
I'm just
to make a
saying that.
I know,
decision.
don't
Is there a way to
drag it on.
expedite that if there's a project that's pending and they need a decision quicker than 30 days?
I mean, it usually takes us a week or two, but we are volunteers, and between all the stuff that we do, if we get backed up, I mean, I have to tell you, this is taking up most of my time now. It's hard for us to get out. We get maybe 15 to 20 calls every week. We have to go to each site and do it. So I would keep it at the 30 days, because if we can't get it done, and since we are, then we're stuck without it. But it usually gets done within 2 weeks.
Okay, fair enough.
Anybody else have any comments?
Yes, Sam, one question I had was on the adjustment on 38-8 exemptions. It says the following shall be exempt from the requirements of this ordinance. I know you have the trees removed and private properties crossed out.
Right.
Right.
Is that wording correct? I mean, is that
Well,
supposed to be...
because it doesn't regulate private trees, so...
So that's out of the ordinance altogether?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not even mentioning...
It's gone.
Okay.
We figured if we put it in there, if we kept it in there, then it would be some ambiguity
Okay.
that we're still regulating private
Gotcha,
trees.
all right, okay.
So we deleted it entirely, so that there's no confusion.
Trace it, okay, gotcha. All right, that's my only question.
Anybody else?
Do we need a motion?
Let me just
yeah.
review, recapitulate
Right.
this so that we basically are all on board. Essentially, the 4-inch tree, which is defined as a regular tree, is okay, we'll amend the site plan. In the cash bond section, we want to add that other forms of security such as surety and letters of credit shall be acceptable. We will incorporate the ISA standards in terms of conditions of the trees, in terms of replacement if they're damaged. And in that same section, we will provide for a alternate resolution mechanism in the event there's a dispute with reference to the release of the bond. When someone wants their bond released, they feel the tree is healthy, then it can come back to the mayor and council for their review, and then they can make the ultimate decision. And then on section 5B2, I think we had a survey, I think we didn't require, I think we said, what, a survey or plot plan? Or did it
Yeah,
say-
locating the,
Did it say survey or plot plan? So do you want to eliminate survey, or?
I think it's acceptable to have, I don't think we should require a survey, that's...
Yeah, no, that's why I use plot plan, but if you want, I mean, I'll try to clarify that, so a plot
Just-
plan or survey.
That's what it says, survey or
It's
plot.
either.
But I don't want someone to have to pay to get trees surveyed, if they're doing a boundary survey, and then you get a tree survey on
The
top of it.
real
that's
intent
what-
was not, I mean, you could use a survey, it doesn't have to certify the location of the trees, but what it would do
Correct,
is
someone
if
can
you
use
took a survey.
a boundary survey and
and
say,
then
here are the
block it.
trees, that should be
exactly-
acceptable.
That's really
as
what the
opposed to
intent
having
was.
somebody
You
have
could
to...
put a non-certified survey if you want for
Yeah.
the location of trees. But obviously, the survey would be easier to locate your trees, but it
Yes.
doesn't have to be certified as to the
Correct.
location of trees. I think that's what his concern
That's
is.
fine.
Okay, so
But
I'll
then
just
under-
clarify that.
Under
it can be
ski jurisdiction,
uncertified.
that's where we put in
Uncertified,
how we're gonna value the trees.
uncertified survey
Is that right?
of a tree location. Okay.
Then we have to
Anything
accept
else?
it, we have to put it under the I. Yeah,
Anything else,
we should-
Liz?
Should put it here, under jurisdiction, under C. 1, it says the borough shall modify the value of the tree based upon its species, variety, location, and its condition at the time of removal. Is that where you would put the ISA definition? Or under the
I thought
property?
we would do it under the...
I would do it under the bond, because you're
Bonding
saying the bond is...
section.
So there's a vague definition and then there'll be, so...
I'll put the definition back in because we had deleted it. Okay, so the ISA definition will be reinstated.
And just say
Yeah,
that the
that's-
bonding will be
Means-
commensurate with that evaluation or
Yeah.
something. So-
This definition, though, it's in there, it just doesn't say ISA.
Yeah, okay.
So we should have...
So you want to add it, we should add it.
Well, I'd like it to be all in one place.
Yep.
But there's no connection between that and what the bonding amount is. It should say the bonding is based on that evaluation. That's
Okay.
just to make it clear.
It needs to be under the...
Yes.
Okay.
So the bond amount, you want a reference to the ISA standards.
But, wait a minute, it should be in both places.
I agree,
because
both places.
The ordinance is effective if somebody damages an existing tree, so it should be in both places.
When you say both places, you're talking about what?
Under the jurisdiction definition, for trees that are just damaged, if, maliciously or whatever, and then under the bonding section, in cases of new development.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you said the jurisdiction section was C.
Right, it's 585-5C.
Okay.
Okay,
Got it?
got it.
All right, any other comments? So those suggested changes would be, is there a consensus that those suggested changes would be supportable by the majority of this council?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, then, hopefully Sam can draft it up, and it'll be listed again for a first reading.
Shall modify the value of tree based on its staircase of
Thank you.
Thanks.
Liz, here's your Paramus ordinance back. Thanks a lot. All right. Moving right along, we have the work session consent agenda. We have 7 items on the agenda. Would any member of the council wish to pull out an item for separate discussion or vote? All right, do we have a motion by consent for these 7 items? They include reimbursement to the camp program The agreement with one of our tax appeal counsel, Alan Spinella, an agreement to extend or amend the contract with our labor attorney, appointing Ellen Bustee to the Green Team, entering into the agreement with Northwestern Bergen Utilities Authority for TV inspection service, approving a resolution to enter into a grant application for the Bulletproof Vest Partnership grant application, and approving a resolution authorizing release of a performance bond for Yeshiva of North Jersey. I have an issue, I have a question about that before we adopt it.
I have a question too, Mayor.
Is there any correspondence or documentation for the council from our engineer or anything indicating that the...
Yeah, Mr. Merman, I think we had reviewed it. Was that in this package? Did I see it?
We sent it out originally, Dick Merman
Yeah.
and Rob Costa.
Did they both sign off and recommend?
Yeah, we had asked
I
them.
wouldn't put the resolution on that.
What?
I don't put the resolution on that.
It's been more than 2 years anyway, am I correct? Yeah, I think the whole issue was that they were...
2009 it started.
Yeah. So we have reviewed, in fact, we had a meeting on this very issue.
How long has it been?
2009 was the developers agreement, and they had finished the project probably, around 2009, I think.
So their maintenance bond is almost expired.
It's
Yeah,
gone.
They just got the CO about 3 months ago. I
Yeah,
understand.
they only pulled the CO down. I think they had some, streetscape issues that they had to clean
Right.
up, and that was it. That was the only thing holding it up. They finished it. Everything is in good shape.
Okay.
I'm just curious, we seem to be, with the labor attorney, it sounds like we've run out of funds to pay them, and now we're looking for more funds.
We ask our attorneys at the beginning of the year to provide a best guess as to what their not-to-exceed number is. And they do that with the understanding that during the year, we will amend their contracts to provide additional spending authority as long as funds are available. So you see quite a few, you see these as they come along, because it's difficult to estimate the full workload through the entire year, but this helps us monitor the amount of money that we have in the budget to make sure we don't spend more than what is in the legal budget.
Alan, could you speak to how we monitor their billing? How do we assure that they're not overbilling us, or that, because I understand the rates are lower, but they seem to be able to bill as much and as often as, how does that process work? Can you explain that, please?
Well, they're on an hourly basis. Their bills detail dates, time, nature of service rendered.
Mm-hmm.
In many cases, the work is assigned to them. For instance, with the borough attorney, when the mayor and council make an assignment at one of their meetings, I formalize that with the borough attorney and provide him with an assignment to document that assignment from the mayor and council. Now, that's not 100%. That's in as many instances as I can capture that. The department heads have received instructions that the attorneys are not at their beck and call. They have to go through my office in order to access them. That's not true for the mayor and council, who can speak with our attorneys directly if they feel that's necessary. In addition, the mayor and council review the legal bills here. 3 elected officials sign off on those legal bills and review them as well.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because I'm one of those 3 officials, and it seems like it's simply, I did these many hours, and there doesn't seem to be any way to validate that. And we're signing off on a lot of documents pretty much every meeting, and I'm new to this process, I admit that. So I'm just wondering, is there at any time where we challenge and say, listen, you seem to be billing a lot, but it just seems like we simply accept the billing as is. And I'm wondering if there is some sort of validation process other than us three right now just signing off on it.
Well,
To something
the
we
bills
can't
that I
validate.
sign off on, I review them, read through the billing. For instance, the borough attorney, I read those bills through to see if the assignments are made or if it is borough business, if the time is reasonable, if the rate is applied correctly. We've caught mathematical errors, so...
So there is some sort of review, because I would not consider what the three of us are doing is an adequate review.
The staff also has responsibility for reviewing the bills as well. The contracts have language in them to ensure that the bills are paid on a regular basis. The bills are submitted on a regular basis. There's even language in the contracts to ensure that when the attorneys come within 75% of the allotment that's been given to them, it's up to them to notify us that there's more work pending and that we need to consider an amendment at that juncture. So there are a variety of safeguards at play here to ensure that things are done properly.
Kathleen?
Actually, Tom, on one of I think it was last month, we got a bill from, I think, one of the attorneys, and he actually had everything to the, minute of what he was billing for. So that was...
Yes, but that's not always the case.
No.
And Al, I, and Ed are really signing a lot of documents that say there are these many hours, but there's no way for us, as the Finance Committee, to validate that. So I wanted to ask that question on the record, because I wanted a better understanding while everyone was here.
Well, as a member of the Finance Committee, I think you have the right to ask whoever the professional is for backup documentation to substantiate the billing. So, I mean, if the billing is not specific enough so that you're comfortable with signing off on it, you should just request further backup. Ed had his hand up.
The attorneys, or especially the labor attorney and the tax bill attorney, they're not working off a specific proposal per se. They're not saying for this case we're charging, like let me use an example, like Mr. Costa. He'll design a project, it's $5,000. We have a fee, we know what he should be spending, but we don't get those kind of estimates on, because they're sort of like moving targets, and sometimes it's an hour, the time and materials kind of... Is there a way to sort of like maybe put them, to give us an estimate, if we give them an assignment, give us an estimated budget?
I guess it depends on, even if you can define something, say the negotiation of a union contract, it's still going to be difficult to put a number on it. You probably could get a range, a high and a low, but to get an exact number.
I think we should have target, like again, not to pick on Mr. Costa, but because I'm familiar with the engineering, we get a lot of times where you'll get it's a not to exceed budget, but sometimes he still comes back and asks for more money.
Well, for the engineer, on the engineering side, we provide a one-page request for proposal document that we ask them to fill out, but still, those are best guesses at the time that they put those together. Now, the not-to-exceed number has been something that I've always asked for because the local finance board requires it, because we have to certify that funds are available. So just to make it open-ended and say, here's the hourly rate, we don't know how many hours it's going to be, we don't know how much money this is going to be, I don't feel comfortable in certifying that funds are available.
No, I think that's a pretty
putting a number in
practice.
there, I think does put a limit in everybody's mind as to how far we can go on this.
I think, Tom, since we're discussing potential financial controls on the committee right now, that's certainly something, a good idea for us to look at, whether it's something we can come up with a policy for.
I asked Alan to provide me, when I was, after I was sworn in, to provide me a 5-year history of the engineer's billing, and then I compared that to what we annually budget for the engineer, and I think that the finance committee, now would be a good time because it's mid-year, is to see what has been budgeted for the engineer and to see what his billings have been, and to see whether or not he's on target to come in at or under budget. And if
Well, I think it's
he's...
prudent for all the professionals.
Right.
I agree.
I'll make a motion on the work session consent agenda.
I
Okay.
just had one other question.
One other...
Maybe we can move.
You know, on this topic here,
Let's get do we have a second first?
Second.
All right, now for any further discussion?
Then we'll do all the new business.
for one of the experts that we had budgeted for the Riverdale funding, Melvin Wins, it's $10,100. Now, is that going to, what did we budget for him?
That was for his expert's report.
Right. But is it going to come back that we're going to have to pay more?
Well,
And what did
if
we-
he testifies for 2 days, we'll have to pay pay more.
So do we have a breakdown for this expenditure?
We have an hourly, there's an hourly rate in his contract.
Right.
Okay. All right, there's a motion and a second. No further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay. That was the longest consent agenda I've ever had.
But it was consented to.
All right, this is the work session, so I'm going to put off council reports until the public meeting, the mayor's report until the public meeting. Any unfinished business?
Mayor, since we just discussed the Riverdale report, without too much discussion, I know that our attorney wanted to confirm that you will be appearing on behalf of the borough to testify as a witness, and wanted to make that clear with the council if that was the case.
Well, let me just correct that. I spoke to our special counsel, who asked for my permission to be named as a witness, and I consented to that, to be named as a witness. I expect that I will be prepped and given background information and prepared, and if it's acceptable to our attorney, he may call me as a witness. If he doesn't think I'm going to do a good job, then he won't call me.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, so that's on unfinished business. New business.
Mayor?
Yeah.
A couple of points. I would like to nominate Councilman Mignon as the finance chairman, since we seem to have a vacancy in that position as of right now.
Any discussion? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Congratulations, Mr. Chairman. Anything else on the new business?
Yeah, an issue, I would like to make a motion to allow Chief Caridi to begin the hiring process of a new patrol officer.
Second.
I'll open up for discussion, and I'll make the first comment, now that we have a motion and a second. I think we should hear from Chief Caridi. I think that since we're belt-tightening, we should hear from him as to whether or not he can potentially get by without, for the rest of at least 2012, without hiring a new officer and going out and maybe starting a search at the end of the year or something like that, so that we can save a little money or something, along those lines. But that's just my personal comment. Anybody else?
I think it's premature. I think we could wait to hear from him at the next meeting.
I mean, if the chief says that we're going to have just as much overtime, or more overtime if we don't hire a new guy, then it makes sense to hire a new officer.
Well, I think by the time the process is completed, you will be probably very close to 2013. So if you started in 2013, then it won't be completed till probably sometime halfway through 2013. So I think it would be prudent to start now with that process.
I have to agree. I agree with Al that beginning the process now is, I think, a prudent idea. There are still a few candidates who have gone through the alternate route, which is preferred. I think we spend too much money on overtime, and a new officer comes in at a much lower salary. I think that would be a good decision.
Anybody want to listen to the chief, hear from the chief before we vote?
I would.
All right. Al, why don't you just put your motion off for a few minutes? The chief will be back, and we can hear from him, and then we can...
That's fine.
Is that okay?
When if he walks back in.
Yeah. And then we'll take your vote, given the chief, putting his comments on the record.
And-
Well, I'm sure he's going to agree with you, but I would like it on the record.
And just one other thing, Mayor,
Yeah.
under new business, we are nearing the halfway point of the year. Might be prudent to have all the department heads come up, let us know where they are with their budgets, what's going on, and just give us an idea.
Alan?
Memo's already gone out, and schedule has been put out there. I think, is it the next work session? We won't have all the departments, but we'll have a majority of them.
Okay. Anything else on the new business?
Yeah.
Ed?
Two things. One, I want to nominate Al to be a full member of the Finance Committee. He's been the alternate, so I'd like to make that recommendation.
Section of Finance Committee, 3?
Yeah.
3 people?
Yes,
So you...
Al and Tom.
John.
He's the alternate,
Oh, he was the
He was
alternate?
the alternate, yeah.
so we're just making
So we'll
him,
need another alternate.
unless you want somebody else.
It's fine with me.
Paul's the alternate.
Motion and a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good.
And one other,
Sorry, go ahead.
one other item. Based on discussions at the planning board level and in some of the issues we've talked about up here regarding zoning, I'd like to establish a subcommittee for a zoning review, basically to look at zoning and planning issues. And I want to keep it a small group for now, just to go through some of the issues that have been coming up and see how we think we should at least approach it before we go to our professionals. Some of the items we talked about were some of the redevelopment issues, the zoning along Kinderkamak. We had some issues with signage, facade, streetscape. We've had some issues on outdoor dining requests. So I think as a group we can, and I know Mr. Merman, as the board planner, has been raising a lot of issues over the last few years that he thinks that we should at least consider looking at amending some of our ordinances. So, like I said, I want to start a small subcommittee. I'd recommend, I'd like to be part of it. I would ask Mr. Merman. I'd ask Mr. Dorr, as chairman of the planning board, to pick someone from the planning board. I'd ask Mr. Eng, as chairman of the zoning board, to ask somebody from the zoning board to be on this review committee. Basically, it's a scoping committee to see what issues have to come up, what issues we need to address. And then once we come up with an idea, then we can actually have a little more direction to work with the planners we've brought on board and the redevelopment attorney.
Can you say those names again? You?
Myself,
Aren't you?
whoever the
very
council
busy?
wants to be on it, Dick Merman, who's the board planner. I would ask Kevin Dorr to appoint somebody from the planning board, he's the chairman. And I would ask Mr. Eng, who's the chairman of the zoning board, to appoint somebody from the zoning board. And whoever else wants, Al, Kathleen, whoever wants, we stick to our 3 members, we're okay.
I'd be happy to sit on that subcommittee.
I would like to as well.
Well, we can't have everybody on the committee.
That's 3.
We have 3.
3 council members.
And Mr. Mayor wanted to be on it.
Yeah, I'd like to be on it.
All right, then.
Take it.
That's like a majority.
So who was the third? Was it
There was
Sandy.
Mayor.
Sandy.
Bartoloni?
Yep.
The committee is a good idea for long-range planning on all these issues that you mentioned, Ed, but there's a couple of issues that are on the front burner that I think should be handled more expeditiously, which is under new business that I was going to raise, which is the issue of 24-hour operation, because the ordinance that we have, I know there's a pending question on the floor about whether you're allowed 24-hour operation or not, and I think the ordinance has to be clarified. It's really a matter of public policy, what this council wants to do with the 24-hour operation issue. Do we want to discourage it or encourage it?
Isn't they have two workers on site, you can do it?
Well, the ordinance, I think, is a little ambiguous.
From what I read, it says if you have two people working from certain hours in the evening, then you can keep open.
I think the ambiguity comes from relating to gas stations.
It does.
That's where it seems to
Yeah, I
be
think
ambiguous.
That's
but
correct.
I don't know if that was the
Gas
intent.
stations, it becomes more...
But, you know,
Second part of the ordinance that's...
If the first part of the ordinance controls that all you need, I'm glad we're having this discussion, the first part of the ordinance that controls that all you need to stay open 24 hours is to have two workers and a security system,
That's correct.
then that means that any licensed any establishment serving alcohol, okay, could be open 24 hours a day. Because as long as they have a bartender and a busboy and a security system, they could serve alcohol 24 hours a day.
There's no state law that...
What state law?
I'm asking you.
No, there's
No,
no, it's local.
Liquor licenses and times of operation are controlled by municipalities. You know, some towns stay open until 3, some towns stay open until 4, some towns, like in, what was it, down the shore, they just said
Midnight.
nothing after midnight, right? So, you know, right now, if that's the way you're interpreting the ordinance, that means that any licensed establishment can be open to and serve alcohol 24 hours a day. Is that what we want to encourage in this town? We don't want to have 24-hour operation. If we're going to allow 24-hour operation, then we should have an ordinance that delineates what types of businesses can be open 24 hours and under what circumstances.
But then the diner
The diner has a liquor license.
is already open
Yeah.
24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if they serve 24 hours.
Well, I think it would be a separate issue. One would be how late you can be open, and then what time the sale of alcohol
Yeah.
would
Yep.
be prohibited. I suspect that a bar, once it can no longer serve alcohol, isn't going to stay open.
Yeah.
So I think it's two separate issues. You know, the time at which... I mean, I'm surprised that the bars in River Edge are open till 3. I believe it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
There's not that many bars.
There's not that many bars, but I think it's 3 o'clock.
3 on Saturday.
It's 3 on Saturday, which I think is honestly a little too late for a town like this. I mean, 2 o'clock would seem to be late enough, but I think that's an issue that we do need to look at.
Yeah, we need to look at that issue.
And I don't know whether Sam can look into it too, because you can also make it a conditional use and for certain applications and let them come to the planning board to get approved for 24 hours.
Mayor, we have to go into the public session.
Yep.
But I don't know if that's
Yeah,
common or not.
I'd have to look at that issue.
All right, so I would look, do I have a motion and a second to allow Sam to address the 24-hour operation issue, and to come up with a proposed ordinance?
My honest assessment would be, I think the reference that Al had made seems to make the most sense, because you do have places that serve food. For example, even Feathers, for example, or whatever it's called now, is supposedly a restaurant which serves alcohol. So it's not characterized as a bar. We had a case about 25 years ago, and that case basically prevented them from operating as a bar with music. But they then indicated that they would serve food, and so it was an event to get around that issue. So I think you have to really split it. I think it's the best way. Now, let's regulate the alcohol as a separate issue, and then food.
All right, so we're going to handle this in a committee and make recommendations? Is that the pleasure? I'm just trying to move the meeting along here.
Yeah, I think we can, most likely, I think we can handle that pretty quickly. I mean, if we make that our goal to knock that out of the
The only thing I'm thinking of is that I don't know whether the hours of operation fall under the zoning ordinance. I don't think it does. Am I correct?
I don't think it does.
So you got to decide, whether you're going to review the whole code, or is this one of the issues that you feel that should be addressed
Well, there's one issue I think that
as a
we
separate item?
I understand.
Yeah.
But I just want to finish this one discussion here. All right, so we're going to do it by committee, and the first issue on the committee's agenda will be hours of operation.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Mayor, the chief is here, what do we want to do
Yeah.
about that?
Now,
All right. We're going to do, Chief, as soon as we open up the public meeting.
Is the menu?
I don't see any menu on this.
The last issue I have under new business, and I'll make it really quick, is that in your package was a memo, I think from Assistant Chief Caridi regarding a AFG grant application to assist firefighters in obtaining either equipment or grants for operation and safety. And I think if we can apply for the grant, I think there's a deadline coming up in July.
Yes.
That we should do so.
Do we need a motion for that?
We need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Can I have a roll call?
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman McMillan?
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Yes.
And Councilman Pellegrino, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Whoever you are. You.
I do have one question for the chief.
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn the work session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, now we'll go into the public meeting.